This is Studio 809 Podcasts, informing, connecting, and empowering the residents of the Pikes Peak region.
Binlow Season 2 is sponsored by Blackpackers, economic equity in outdoor education and recreation.
This is Badly Needed and Long Overdue, a controversial podcast about Colorado Springs. I'm Nick Raven. We've got an incredible guest today. I mean, we always do. Always have great conversations in here. And I'm just waiting for the whatever the heck's going on to go away. Just waiting for the ambulance. Just waiting for it. Yep. Bye. On the show today, we have local artist Daniel Logan, better known as Dalo. He has been featured prominently in a number of local galleries, so if you've been in art galleries in the past year or two, even longer, you've seen his work. It's incredible. So I got to meet him several years ago when I was reporting for the Indie, and we got to have a really in-depth chat about how he enlisted in the Air Force. He was an MP, and then kind of graduated into art, and the role his father played in all that. And so it's a little heavy conversation at times. We don't get in, there's like no graphic detail or anything, but it's, you know, it's a little heavier than usual, especially as we come on that swing back up to how he found his art and what inspired him to get into that art and how he creates it, going through art school and that, and then what it means locally. So great conversation, really excited for you to watch or listen to this. Loud freaking truck buzzing by. So with all that said, let's get into the interview down in Studio 809. We have a great time, but first, let's pay the bills.
The Nth Review. Do you like video games? What about multi-hour deep dives into how video games work? Of course you do! It's time you come check out what 22,000 other subscribers have already discovered. A whole bunch of delicious content about mechanics, immersive sims, action games, open world stuff, and why we play and enjoy games in video essays you can cook dinner to. Check it out at youtube.com/Nth Review. And be sure to check out my newest review for Deus Ex Mankind Divided, a revisit of the classic immersive sim, coming out soon. If you'd like to place an ad on Binlow, send an email to badlyneededpodcast@gmail.com and get your business, campaign, or message prominently featured on this beautiful, glittering podcast. Now, onto the conversation. Daniel Logan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Black Company. This wonderful, whatever the hell today is. Friday. It's Friday.
What year is it?
That's a fantastic question.
Sorry.
I don't actually
Jumanji
know. Oh
reference,
yeah, Robin Williams. Rest in peace.
R.I.P.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a little bit toasty.
Yeah.
I shouldn't sweat from brushing my teeth, but here we are.
When did you move here?
I've been here for quite a long time.
Because I've been here since 97.
I ended up a lot of people don't know this about me, but I ended up coming out here and graduating my high school year here, which was in 2007. I'm a wee bairn, I know.
Okay.
And then worked for about a year and then went into the military. And they sent me right back here at the Air Force Academy.
Hey.
And I've been here ever since.
What'd you do?
I was security forces. So essentially that's law enforcement.
Yeah.
But they, at the academy, if you're law enforcement, that's also another term for we're going to deploy you a lot. And so
you can send the police anywhere in the world.
Yeah, but I barely touched any police stuff. It was they definitely branch you out as far. Anytime I ever deployed, I wasn't deployed with the Air Force. So I might have a team of 3, or I could be by myself, and then I'll be attached to someone else, and I'll go play and do what they do. Mm-hmm. So
what was a lot of that work? Like, obviously, it's not what you're doing now.
Correct.
Yeah, as an artist.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if it wasn't for
Are there
that,
aliens?
Are there aliens?
Are there aliens? Like, did you have to? Was that one of the stops? Is like, all right, as part of your enlistment, is you have to take one Area 51 tour. Sorry,
You
black
know,
site
if
tour.
at the site, I usually was what made it black. For those who are listening, I'm a black man, so that's the joke. As far as aliens go, those were usually my good friends from Texas, but that's fine. So no, altogether we were pretty much the. There was no extraterrestrials, only besides me and my team, which we always seemed like some monsters ball club. So
Really, just in terms of role, or just who you were, or
imagine who I am today.
yeah,
In a tunnel in Iraq or Afghanistan, given very heavy firearms and or explosive devices. Well, not explosive. People with me with explosive devices. Let me make that clear. And then basically playing hide and seek. So bad guys, quote unquote bad guys. That was my role, to find quote unquote bad guys. Would shoot at our base or at our people. They would hide, and it was my job to go seek them. And so imagine who I am today. That's who I was then. And so just imagine multiples of me. And so, of course, that seems out of place.
Yes.
I have a job to do, and I was very good at my job. But at the same time, I had a conversation with someone the other day. Whenever you train to deploy or you're in the military, there's nothing out of all that training that is intended to make you understand why you're there.
you are just.
They say,
this
point.
is what you do.
This is what you're doing. This is who the bad guy is. Go get him, Tiger. There's no understanding. This is why they're the bad guy. This is why we're the good guy, etc. And so I say that lightheartedly, etc., as saying like who I am now, just due to the questions of like, well, no one ever. Why are we the good guys other than saying we're the good guys? etc. Not to go down that rabbit hole per se.
Yeah, you can, because I mean, I came from a conservative background. We were the good guys because we were the good guys.
Correct.
God at our side, Jesus our savior, and all that. But no, there was no like objective. Let's pull back to 20,000 feet and see. This is where things are at, and that I remember asking my dad once, like, has America ever lost a war? And he was like, I think he said he was like, we tied on one, and that was Vietnam.
Right.
And it's like, that's a perspective. I would discover later on, like,
I only bring this up because I feel like the Expendables. I feel like a team of Sasquatches are, we're here because they say if we don't do what they say, they're going to blow our heads up. Like that's what Suicide Squad. Yeah. And so very prideful of what I did in my service, etc.
Yeah.
But also asking questions gets you in trouble. And so when I say we're like the team of Sasquatch or etc., that's what I mean. Is this we're like, well, we're just here. What's that football player? I'm just here so I don't get fined. So
yeah. So where'd you graduate?
Sand Creek High School,
Okay.
District 49.
That was still new.
Yeah. Well, it was about 10 years in when I graduated, I believe. But yeah, for a school,
We used to have church in the cafeteria, and that was 2003 or so. But it's so out there.
Right.
And that kind of embodies that car-dependent suburban sprawl where people are racing down North Carefree there at 60 miles an hour. There was a story about, like, this is the second time this lady's house on the corner got hit because someone took a left turn on there too fast because it's a frickin' 6-lane highway. Like a frickin' course it's going to have issues out there. And
it's a suburban Autobahn out there. Yeah.
Without any of the safety standards or the training or anything that goes along with Autobahn. Because I was born in West Germany. I lived in West Germany when I was very young. And people think Autobahn
Guten Morgen, mein Lieben.
Ich bin ein Berliner.
No sway. Sorry, that's it. That's all I got. I hope you were impressed.
I didn't learn the language at all because we weren't in the public we had German classes.
Right.
And then when we came here, I was 7 and not here. It was in Nebraska for a minute. We were at Offutt.
Right.
And we had to switch to Spanish, which is infinitely more useful here than German is, despite whatever ideals you may have had.
Right.
But people have this idea of the Autobahn as it's a thing you can just, it's just a sticker you can put on this road to make it go as fast as you want.
Right.
But the Germans are a lot more, they think about things a little bit more than we do here because their space and their resources and drivers have to learn.
And it's very well maintained.
It is, and it's
very
thicker, but that costs, and people don't want that. They want the straight shot in Wyoming where you can take your hands off the wheel, and provided your wheels are in alignment, like you can just go forever.
Right.
And that, but no, Sand Creek High School.
Yeah.
They have it was a come and go, and then it became a Maverick. So that would have been so dope to just like walk over. And get
I remember in high school, I had just gotten pulled over by an unmarked vehicle, and about 8 men came out, and they were all police. Yeah, and they pulled me over because, like, I'm not kidding. It was like a clown car. But all of them had like
Durango or something.
The vests on and police and whatever. It looked like a modern day ICE raid. But they pulled me over because my taillight was out, and for whatever reason, that made me screenshot where I was, and I was at the gas station over by Sand Creek, and gas was $1.29.
$1.29.
Right.
Wow.
And the good old days.
Oh my God.
On Route 66 by Sand Creek High School. Yeah.
Man.
And I still remember after I did that, I didn't have enough money to fill up my tank, which is hilarious.
Where were we working?
I think Best Buy? Sonic. No, Sonic on Constitution was my first ever job.
Did you see all those closing? Like the bulk
I
of
did.
them are closed.
Yeah, a lot of people are distraught. If you would have worked there, you probably wouldn't have been as sad because you saw what the insides look like. Yeah.
But you didn't have enough money back then, and then you at a point you were like, we're going to get into the military.
You know what?
I'm sure there was a complex series of decisions there.
For sure. It was one of those things where anyone whom I'd gone to school with who didn't do the college route or didn't go to work with their family, etc., they did we're going to live with 6 people in the same house.
And paid $300 or $200.
Right. And we're all going to work for the same spot, inevitably hate each other, be extremely dirty, get into drugs, sex, and rock and roll, and then it just not be productive. And for an extrovert, I don't play well with others. Like if your dirty plate is in the sink for 5 business days, we're gonna fight, buddy. You have now earned the badge of disgusting. So, and I don't like that. And boys are disgusting. And you know what I did? I went to the military where all the boys are disgusting.
But in a formal setting.
But now you're naked with them in the showers.
Yeah.
And so it's different.
Yeah.
And it's for America. So we can be disgusting pridefully.
Were you still Army of One back then? Because you're Air Force, but like that was that era. And
You
everyone's
know-
like, what does that even mean?
Right. And then you go to the movies and they're like, citizen soldiers, or whatever, like trying to get people to the National Guard.
Jumping out of planes,
Right,
paratrooping, all of that. It's
exactly.
like you could be doing all this adventurous shit right
You
now.
too can be disgusting with
Other people.
with other naked people.
That doesn't sound fun,
But
Daniel.
it just,
No.
I didn't have any clear course, any clear guidance of what I was going to do. And I knew myself, you are subject to the suck that you expose yourself to. and I don't want to become a product of my environment personally, and so let me try to do something with my life. Mm-hmm. So
You were like, let's do it.
that's the military, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a tribalism to it too. Like, was your family in there?
Yeah, my dad actually. So there's a very hallmark story with how I told my dad I was going to join the military. My dad was actually in Iraq because he was in the army. Mm-hmm. And when I called him, the first thing he said is, "Boy, are you stupid? There's a war going on." and then he was quiet. And then he said, well, he paused and said, "You know, as a father, my first instinct is to protect you. Mm-hmm. But as a soldier, I couldn't be more proud."
Sure. Yeah.
And that hit me in my feels. And then he said, "But if you join the army, I will kill you." Because he was in the army.
Yeah.
And so I was like, Roger that. So I guess it's I guess he didn't mean go to the Marines either. So I guess that means the Air Force.
You're not doing infantry.
And so, right.
Yeah.
And
you're
so,
not doing that.
Yeah. And my dad's been through it all as well. And so I got all these cool pictures with my dad in these old uniforms next to camels and Desert Storm, and it's pretty cool.
So you bring that up, and that's interesting because my dad did hop into the Air Force. They had me young, and he went into the Air Force specifically because he didn't want to be infantry. He didn't want to be like his, dad coming back from the battlefield on this tour. So he went into telecom, SATCOM support like that. He was being recruited to, join the White House Secret Service team and be in the limousine with all the equipment, but then you're gone all the time, going remote with the president and that, which I'm sure is fine when you're like 19, 20 and single, and it's like, here's this opportunity, and then you're in the Beltway and all that stuff. But that's the route he did. So yeah, like we'd be in Germany, he'd have to guard the post, but the Soviets never climbed over the Iron Curtain that they set up. So we were okay.
Right.
And he would do remotes, but it wasn't in, war zone. He did that very intentionally.
Right.
But he was military. His sister and brother were military. His dad was military. My grandpa, he had a sleeping bag that had U.S. Army Air Corps.
That's really cool, actually.
That was real. That's like one of the coolest things,
really
actually.
Cool.
So
that is when you tactically acquire something. Meaning like, oh no, where'd it go?
Yeah. That's just inventory.
Oh no.
But there's that idea of everyone else did it, and it's such a noble cause. Like you are directly contributing to the defense of the country. Now, again, that 20,000 foot view of what am I actually doing though? Like, what is the mission of our armed forces in totality, and the politicians behind them and stuff like that? It's like, when was the last time, we really defended against British, coming in and burning down the White House?
And from that, my brother almost joined after 9/11. Because that was around,
that was that era.
That was around the time where he had just graduated and he's trying to figure out life as well. But also at that time, first of all, no, my brother is not my brother can hold his own, love him to death, but he's also an entrepreneur. He's in LA, he's a videographer, he's a singer, he's a producer, etc. He's a creative like myself. But yes, and so for him to even thought of him, everyone says, "Oh, I couldn't join the military because if anyone ever," the military is full of the people who said, "Oh, if I ever joined the military, I'd get kicked out," because that is literally what the military is made of. Yeah. But my brother, I'm like, nah, that's not a fit for you, bro. But even that is something happened on our soil. I can see the cause. There's you just saw the cause. No matter the reading in between the lines, that's when, during that time frame, that was when like the most American flags were purchased on like U.S. history, was those flags,
No doubt.
So that makes sense. But I didn't have, I was in middle school. I was in Spanish class watching the news when 9/11 happened, and so, but that was also when I was young and stuff like that. But my brother saw that as like a newly found adult. So that I can understand, it gives more oomph.
Yeah.
But I mean, even when I was in the military, I was still dealing with that. Though that was still the fight I was fighting per se.
Yeah.
Was that 9/11 undertones, etc. So I mean, we're just dealing with Bin Laden and stuff like that.
Hussein was done and all that,
et cetera, et cetera. You know, and so I've been to Saddam's mansions and his secret tunnels and his pools that still had they were pools that were empty and they still had blood stains from where people were sacrificed in them. I had absolutely nothing to do with Osama bin Laden, but I was a part of the team to recover his body and zip him up. And so I've been a part of inadvertent history. I've been a part of the not important history. Like,
yeah.
I've been there. I've seen the last textile painting of Saddam Hussein, and I've also seen this. Let's say allegedly, I've also seen people shoot at it and pee on it because it was Saddam Hussein. You know, whatever. And so, yeah. So
but that was part of the duty. It wasn't like you're coming back and selling a book on it, you know,
correct.
Which so many people did, unfortunately.
Correct.
But
yeah,
fortunately or unfortunately, for whatever their one-time payout, this is the one thing I did in my life.
If in the grand meal of things, if you have this delicious banquet, I was a part of history that essentially I was cleaning the dishes, I feel like, and so I was still a part of it, but nothing of note. No one quote unquote remembers the dishwasher, which, I mean, that's not even my intent. I could care less about being remembered, but it's like, no, you
were in the room, you were in the building.
I still wash that butter knife, that fillet,
but then art.
Yeah. Now I'm freaking here, man.
Yeah.
As an artist.
Yeah, exactly.
Arting hard.
You are RDR.
I'm RDR. I'm an art pirate.
I went to your Artist Speaks down at Shutter and Strum.
Yeah.
And you'd kind of told your life story going into the military. And you'd like sketch out in the desert when you were just waiting. And stuff like that.
Right. It was constantly hurry up and wait. And, you know, I'm
which is any bureaucracy,
for
really.
sure.
Yeah.
And it's, wait, how long? It could be up to an hour to 3 months. And it's like, great. All right. I guess I'll just stop my life.
That's like the Windows 95 like install screen. It's like 13 minutes, 75 years.
Right.
24 seconds, 98 months. You know?
It's like anytime I try to do an Xbox update, for sure. But I mean, so if it wasn't for the military, though, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here as an artist. I feel like art is definitely my mental health. And so from there, the reason why I joined the military is because I feel like I just didn't have any clear path of my own per se. Like I was where I came from, I was just very much a product of my environment. You couldn't really tell me nothing, etc. And so at one point I'm like, but I do need to get this together. I do need to get this together. I'm not good in school. You know, I was never diagnosed with dyslexia until like being later as an adult. But I struggled severely in school. And so then I became the popular jokester guy, whatever. I passed all my classes and did all that, but it was just all by the skin of my teeth. And so it's one of those things where you act like you don't care about your grades. Oh, that's stupid. I don't care about that. When really you're just freaking struggling, and you're just really, you know, it was a hard time for me. And so I was always mortified about like wasting money going to college, because I'm like, I'm not smart enough to go to college. When it turns out it was just, I didn't know the way I learned, and no one helped me learn the way that I learned. And
that's the why again. It's like people are telling you the what and the who, but not the why.
For sure. No one ever was like, hey, are you okay with that? Like, what's going on here? And then plus I was too embarrassed as a kid to be like, you know, I was just always like, no, I'm good. It's stupid. I don't care about this. It's stupid. You know, and really I'm at home like, But
Shut the fuck up,
yeah,
dude.
exactly.
Come
And
on,
so,
stop
but
razzing me.
the military was a noble thing. My dad did it, and that gave. Even if I didn't understand the why, other people understood the why, and that was a thing as a man, quote unquote, that you're supposed to do. This is something noble, like you said. Like that's the sleeping bag with the
Army Air Corps.
the
on
Army
it.
Air Corps on
Yeah.
it. You know, that's I earned that, and so, but the military, essentially, from that, I gained some of the darkest times in my life. During the time that I was in brutal divorce, stereotypical military, essentially got my kid's mom pregnant, and then I'm like, I'm a Christian man, I need to do the right thing. When in all reality, marriage does not fix toxicity, and that was during that time frame in the military.
Yeah.
And then
And you're young.
and
You
I'm
don't
young,
know
and so
better.
I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. That's
Yeah.
all it was like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, whether it be with my marital status at the time. You know, this is interesting. This is a TMI thing that I'm about to put
Okay.
on a podcast.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I contacted someone that I was deployed with because during that time frame, again, I told you it was one of the most brutal times. Stuff had happened at home that shouldn't be happening with my marriage repeatedly, right? And from there, I was being gaslit as if I was one of the people doing it as well. And so said person would contact me and say, this person in that picture told me that you're doing X, Y, and Z. And so there was this person, that sweetest girl in the world, and I cussed her out like someone I've never cussed out in my entire life, and was like, how could you? I didn't even do anything. Do you know what I'm going through? And it was really, she was pretty. And so that person in my life just was trying to control that and trying to get me to be like, oh, I'm so sorry, trying to catch me in something that there was nothing to catch in. And so literally, I haven't talked to that person. That was in 2009 in Afghanistan. And yesterday, I found her information and I contacted her and I was like, I just want to apologize to you. I prided myself on trying to be a good human being. And all this years, I know that you've well forgotten it, and I really hope you did. But it's always never felt right in my soul that I wronged another good human being. And I never got the chance to apologize. And I'm like, you don't need to say anything.
Yeah.
I just want you to know that I'm sorry. And I don't want to think about it anymore because I wronged you. And I just want to make that right. So I want to ask for your forgiveness and apologize to you. And I hope all is well. And so that's stuff like that still affects me every single day. And so, but literally, that was yesterday that I hadn't talked to this person since 2009.
And you were handling all that long distance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
for sure.
remotely, whether by email or instant message or something like that.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
There's a lot of people that I still get in contact with, just social media. It's exactly like your parents or your family on Facebook. That's how the military family is. You know, you have all these people that have been in your life that you just don't talk to, but you wish them well.
Yeah.
And so I contacted someone that I had deployed with and was like, hey, what was the name of that girl? You were like best friends with her.
Yeah.
And that was literally yesterday. I say that all to say that there was many demons that latched themselves onto me during the time of my military enlistment. I'm very prideful of my military service and what I did for this country, etc. But as much, so you have to give yourself to the military, and also it gives you a lot back, whether that be positive or negative. And so from that, when I got out in 2019, I was spent. My personality, I'm a goofy person naturally. Like,
Is it 12 years?
Yeah. I'm a goofy person, and so that's just my natural state of being. I'm gonna find a way to make a joke at my funeral, some way, somehow. Some freaking pocket sand with my ashes, something. Where it's gonna be a joke. I don't take life seriously as I should, but when I was leaving, all the chunks of my personality that were being taken wasn't ever rejuvenated back. And so I was losing more and more of myself every day. I was starting to become a shell of myself. It took me essentially, because I was a quote unquote man, and you just suck it up, and that's what men do.
You just handle it.
This is a badge you wear. You're a man. You're supposed to handle it. And I said at that talk that I didn't even realize that I had like PTSD like that. I went to SeaWorld, and I was in a crowd of like 2,000 people, and I was walking with my daughter, and my daughter is like no taller than this table, and fireworks started going off, and I froze and I started crying in the middle of this crowd, and like I felt like I couldn't move, and I remember my daughter just looking up at me, and so it was bigger than myself. It wasn't I can handle it, it's fine. Yeah. Anytime that there's any instance where my children could be like, what's wrong with daddy? Screw it. My pride is out the window. Yeah. And so that's when I acknowledged, like, I need to find myself again, because my kids are noticing that they're losing their dad. Yeah. And so that's when, after I got out of the military, 2 days later, I was in my first seat in art school. And for the first time in my life, I decided to be happy, and I decided to choose me. And for me, it's the airplane where the masks come down, and they say, no, you have to put on your mask, or else first, if you're passed out, you can't help your kid, whatever. And so I decided to choose me, and it was my mental health. So my art, as fun and happy and stuff as it is, this is also very much, my mental health journey. I was at the VA yesterday on Fillmore, and when I got there, there's a bus stop right in front of it, and there's this man. He's it's probably 200 yards away from the front door of the VA hospital. There's this man screaming at the top of his lungs, F you, F you. Like, he has his arms out. He's saying this with his chest. Like, he's just distraught. And when I get out, he's still screaming at the top of his lungs, F you. And he's banging his head on the bus stop and punching it. And I'm not saying that could be me. I'm just saying that's me with zero help, zero acknowledgement, zero whatever. Yeah. And that's a very real thing. And it so, I thank God I had the resources in order to just protect my family and myself, but
at least you were able to recognize it, like, on your own, instead of someone like, for sure, like a cop coming up who is not trained, doesn't have mental health first aid or anything like that, which is a situation that happened in my life with it's how do you fix that? And you have to start with that base of compassion, which unfortunately these days seems like that's a shore that's retreating further and further away. Right. It's like, when are we going to acknowledge this base plate of, we should care about people? And the person who's screaming at the top of their lungs, banging their head against the bus stop, they're not like a wad of garbage that you like put in a dumpster and then throw 100%. Away. Like, they are actual human being. And unfortunately, you read so much local commentary. You just get into the comment section of any news story about the homeless, the unhoused, affordable housing, stuff like that. And it's like, just push broom the trash into the garbage, you know? That's what we did. We didn't have, homeless people when we were growing up. It's got to be wokeism that caused it. But, for sure. But you were able to acknowledge that, at least before it escalated to something else. For sure. I'm reading very slowly Patrick Stewart's autobiography. Ooh. And his father fought in World War I and became a very decorated soldier. But also, he became extremely traumatized, and they didn't have PTSD. It was Shellshock. It's just, you just came back from the war. Shit's going to be weird for a while. The end of the Pacific, where he comes back and he's just got that 1,000-yard stare permanently, and his parents will just let him be for a while. But Patrick's talking about just the cruelty that his dad could be, to the point where he goes off to acting school as a teenager, and he's like, well, we just hope that it
he doesn't hurt mom, or something doesn't happen that, along the way.
Right.
Even though it hadn't been that in a while, who knows? They didn't know. There was no empathic science or anything like that.
Right.
When I hear Gen Zers talking about setting boundaries and stuff, it's like, I didn't even know about that until a couple of years ago,
For sure.
And I'm older.
Yeah.
I should be knowing more.
Exactly.
And I don't think that the military is really getting into that either. Even that's one of the harshest jobs, depending on what your MOS is or
100%.
whatever. You need that first and foremost.
Yeah, and that's one thing that they act like. So for me, the roughest time I had with acknowledging that I had PTSD, it's actually I'm rated for it. I've been diagnosed with it, and I fought it. Still, I have a hard time not fighting it today. Because in the military, there's this toxic mentality that something like that you're supposed to earn.
Sure.
So PTSD, I know people who have lost their lives without limbs, who have been charred from their head to their toes. They earned that. And so when I said that, I was actually in a mental health, seeing a mental health provider. They looked at me like a freaking alien and were like, do you think PTSD is a good thing? And I looked at them and I was like, no. But hearing them say that, it made it reflect, and then it bounced back and it made me think about what I said out loud. Yeah. But that's literally how we're trained when I first got diagnosed with PTSD, my squadron in the Air Force, they laughed at me. Because it's like, basically, one, it's like, no, you don't. It's almost, you're looked like you're malingering, like you're lying.
Yeah.
And two, it's like, if they don't think that you earned it, then you're a joke. Get out of here.
Yeah.
It's stolen valor and a point to say you have PTSD and don't. And honestly, I'd be lying if I said that, because I know quite a few people who have, and I shot someone in the face and watched the life leave their eyes. No, you didn't. And I know for a fact there's some people, like I can name you a handful of people that I know are lying about that. And so as a military member who did have to go through stuff, that does infuriate me. But also at the same token, my mental health provider was like, you can get PTSD from your freaking dog dying, right? And I like to be an empath. I'm like, yeah, and they deserve that. Just not me.
Yeah.
Any questions? Just not me. And so I'm like, they totally earned that. That can be very traumatizing. Dogs are your family.
Yeah.
Just not me.
Yeah.
And so
that's why the delicate flowers don't go in and start, grab the long rifles. All right, let's go down Saints tunnels.
Right.
Like
and so, and then, here I am saying that, first of all, I fought it tooth and nail saying that I had PTSD, which I guess could be a symptom of PTSD.
I don't have it. You have it.
But then imagine going from the job, the career field that I was in, and then tell those exact same people who you carry 2 guns every day, and that you deploy with, that I have PTSD, and I think I'd like to be an artist now.
So when you're telling these your classmates or whatever, or if you even are, like, how are they responding to you in turn? Like, people in art school, a lot of, or wherever your learnings art. There's so many people from like rural wherever.
Oh my gosh!
That have not seen the world.
In a china shop.
Yeah.
So first of all, I'm super excited to be there. No one is making eye contact. Imagine putting a freaking a chimpanzee doing cartwheels in a freaking room full of nuns looking at the floor. That's what it was like. It was just like everyone was super quiet. Everyone was super reserved. No one spoke. They had to like pull teeth in order for, it was like interrogating people to ask how their day was at first. And so it was such whiplash. And I remember my first day in orientation, I'll never forget this. This will haunt me for the rest of my days. I was asked, or I was literally sitting in the front row like an idiot. I'm like, I want to hear better, not knowing the trauma I was going to cause myself. We had this class essentially of accepting people.
Okay.
And so there's trans people, there's gay people, there's fluid people here, there's military people here, there's white, black, Asian. They're all special. And like a freaking idiot, I rose my hand, and in front of these hundreds of people, I said, and I meant this. I wasn't trying to be facetious, hateful. I literally was curious. Why do we care? And because 2 days ago, I was just in a uniform, and the mentality is you suck, and I suck. That's what makes this special, because we all suck. So we're all the same.
Yeah.
So it's like our hair is all the same. Our uniform is all the same. There's nothing special about you. You suck. That's what makes us special, is we suck together.
Yeah.
And
they break you down. That's the whole point of basic, is to bring you down.
So then I hear you're special, you're special, you're special. That's what makes you special, is you're special individually. So it's canted. It's quite 180 degrees of what I've been bred in my head. And it wasn't fighting that these people were special. It was a legitimate, why do we care? Because I don't care what you are. I want you to be happy and healthy. And whatever that means for you, great.
Yeah.
And so, but of course, I look like this giant idiot in the front row. I was probably wearing black and green. I hope I wasn't wearing a American flag. I'm prideful of it. I just don't want to.
Punisher logo sticker.
Right. I just don't. I say that only I didn't want to fit the type that much to a T.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, this douche.
Yeah.
But no, I legitimately meant that. Like, why do we care? And I'm so glad. I feel like I'm so blessed to have that 180 degree polarization, because that's such a better way of thinking, rather than you suck and you suck. There's so for a while when like, not to go on this tangent, but this is slightly in the same realm, is when Black Lives Matter came, right? So in the military, everyone was saying no lives matter. And I was like, yeah, because nobody cares. And then like, well, let me rephrase that. I was not saying that.
Sure.
But like, that was the nobody cares. That was the generalization. And so that was the military's way of saying, you're not special. You're just mine. And so then I go to art school, and it's just so much better to like, no, you are a black man, and that's okay. Other than that, people are like, I don't care if you're freaking black. What does that have to do with me? Whatever. Yeah. But instead, it's like, no, I think that's cool. I think it's so much better, rather than a you suck to, hey, cool. You know what I mean? Like
an acceptance thing, right?
Weird. And it's not even, it's not a special treatment thing. It's not anything. It's just like, good for you, dude.
Yeah.
That's so much more freaking positive than just to like, I don't care.
When people treat general acceptance as something special, that's the tough idea to get around.
Right.
It's like, why do the people who are disabled have a free parking spot up front just for them? And it's like, because everyone else, like, not understanding that at all.
Why is that
inverting?
Yeah. Why is it threatening to be acknowledged?
Yeah.
Why is that threatening?
And what do you gain from not acknowledging it?
Well, we're all the same. Well, I think my food tastes really good. Are you saying my food doesn't taste good? That's not what I said. What kind of food do you make? Oh my gosh, that food tastes really good. Oh, well, yes, my grandmama. You know what I mean? Like, cool. Yeah. Good for you. Yeah. Your food does taste really freaking good.
Yeah.
It's not all like, oh, it's all slop.
But it also reinforced, like, that in terms of a fighting force, like, that makes sense. You want to hammer away the special bits. Mm-hmm. You don't want to acknowledge it, but that also on the back end then creates this kind of conservative mentality where if you're different and there are systemic issues in society, you don't acknowledge it because you were just trained to not do that because you need to be a better warfighter.
Correct.
Or better in your role in that.
The only time, because I got out in 2019, September 2019, the only time that I saw any form of quote unquote individualism that was widely accepted was Trump had just created MAGA. And then all of a sudden, every desk, every truck on the dashboard had a MAGA hat. And it was all like a collective, they took our jibs kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that was a good time to get out. Let's put it that way. But it was that was the only time where I've ever seen something that was like politically, religiously, whatever, because it was all like, you can do whatever you want on your own time. Don't bring it to work.
Yeah.
And that was the only time when it was like, why didn't you bring it to work? And took your jibs.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. And so,
you can do whatever you want in the bedroom. Just don't make it your whole life.
And then, and then I was in art school.
So you go to art school, and one thing that I know about art school, having been there for 9 months, I went to the Art Institute of Colorado for 9 months before my dad lost his job.
Okay.
And he couldn't co-sign, and that was a whole mess.
Gotcha. Thanks, Dad. I'm kidding. Kidding. Love you, Dad.
No, thanks, Dad. No, they tried.
No, of course.
But you had these people these kids, they were all kids. And so the vet in there was always 10 years older than everyone else.
Yes.
And they were more reserved, and they kept their political ideologies.
Everyone else, yes.
Okay. You had these kids that showed up at art school who had not done art. And so they thought, art school will teach me to draw. Mm-hmm. They will teach me to be creative in that. And I'm certainly paying enough money because it was a for-profit school that this should do it for me. But anyone who excels in art school, they've already got a running start. Right. And you had a running start. So what was art life for you before going to art school, before committing to art school? And why even go to art school? Were you thinking, like, man, I could really run this chain of freaking Sonics. Like, I know the Sonic business. I could really clean that kitchen out.
How I would have cleaned that Sonic out is with
bath of acid.
What is the Mazel Tov? Not Mazel Tov. The Russian Molotov? The fire in the
Molotov cocktail?
Yeah. That's how I would have cleaned it. Yeah. I wanted nothing to do with Sonics unless it was burning. But as far as art-wise, I am a reflected image of my father. Mm-hmm. So my father went to art school in Louisville, Kentucky. And during that time frame, racism was still a thing. And I don't want to say that's what brought him down, but there was zero support with what he wanted to do, and he wasn't exactly financially stable during that time. So if he was in a class, even with people that didn't look like himself, if they needed a color, they all would chip in to buy one tube, and they would all share it. Mm-hmm. And so there was this no longevity. When my dad tried to do jobs for that kind of stuff, he didn't have skin in the game. And so, I just had a child at 19 years old. I need to go be a man. I need to take care of my family. So for him, his interpretation of that was the Army. And before that, he was actually working in tobacco fields and all this stuff like that. But art did not work out for my dad. And my dad I never remember a time that either my dad was in the field, he was deployed, he was gone a lot. Like, there's huge chunks of my memory where my dad was not there, and it was not his fault. Yeah. And but when he came back, he was always working on a sculpture, on a painting, on some form of stained glass. He was always doing art. And it's funny because I swore that I would never in a million years join the military, because I said, I want my kids to have a father. And then obviously I grew up and it was like, oh, my father was there the whole time. He's the reason why I'm eating. He's the reason why I have a roof over my head. You know, he doesn't want to freaking be in Iraq. He doesn't want to be in the field. So I did the military first, and then I became the artist. And then from there, my dad he's a step above the dad that grunts You know, like he doesn't say I love you. He's just like, whatever. My dad, he'll converse with you. He's just a man of a few words. And so if you text him, you're going to get the K. Cool.
Yeah.
Great. The one-word answers.
Yeah.
And I have never had such a thriving relationship with my dad since I became an artist, because now we have something that he's passionate to talk about.
Yeah.
Like I'm living through him, and that's what it seems like. And it's an honor, because like I would tell him about my art class and he'd be like, no freaking way. They have not updated that class since I was in college. And I'm like, apparently, dude. And then he was sending me all these like unused sketchbooks, and I'm like, Pop, this is a sketchbook from the 80s. First of all, I will gladly have that because that's freaking cool. Second of all, why do you still have this?
Yeah.
Like he would send me VHS tapes to like help me with the cutting my own matting and stuff. And I'm like, this is an unopened box. Why do you still have this? But it's so cool just because we have a relationship that we've never had before.
Yeah.
There's the father, I'm supposed to raise you, I'm your dad. And then as you get older, your parents turn into friends. And then now I have a new art friend, and that's my freaking dad.
Did you see him art while you were growing up? Was it the
very time? Anytime he was home,
he was always
working
doing
on something.
Yeah.
And it was all, he's amazing. There's sometimes I'd find when he wasn't home, I'd go through bins of his art stuff, and I'd find stuff that he was drawing in college. And first of all, my dad's a freak, because there was a lot of like dungeons and like girls in these like little furry bikinis. He was a little freak. But also you'd see the Phantom, the old comic book, the Phantom drawings, Spider-Man drawings,
just all kinds of stuff,
and all kinds of freaking stuff. But there wasn't anything that was like mediocre. It was all, every single one of them was just like, what the frick? My dad did it? My young, without kids, not married dad did this. No training, no whatever. He's just raw talent. And like I said, anytime he was home, he'd be doing sculptures, he'd be doing stained glass, he'd be doing woodworking.
Did he was able to like turn that into like a something he could sell, or
lucrative?
Like a venue?
No,
like what,
he would just do it for the house.
Out?
He would do it for my mom. He'd do it for presents.
But it's kind of a hobby.
But
it's like,
now,
this is a thing. Yeah.
Now that I'm in school, he's about to retire, because right now he's an ROTC instructor in San Diego. Mm-hmm. He has, I can confidently say this without feeling like I'm taking anything from him. I have inspired him to pursue his art. So now he's investing in himself for all these artistic things, and like he's learning how to be a vendor in order to sell his stuff. And it's so cool because my entire life my dad was teaching me things, and now I'm like, let me help you. Yeah, please let me help you. Pop, that's amazing. This is okay. I don't know how you would price this one, but I have a woodworker friend, and he prices his stuff like that. So this is similar with the amount of materials and hours that it would take. And, it's just creating an entirely new dialogue that never existed.
Yeah. And that's a whole suite of skills too, that we kind of swing into. Is it's not enough to be an artist, right? It is, you have to be a salesperson for your artist. Like you can sit there and dibble and dabble and do and create the greatest art, like you finding your dad's sketchbooks from 40 years ago, 45 years ago, whatever. It's like, this is amazing. I mean, let's be real here. Like, art is for us. Like, we make the creativity is for us,
right?
That we can sell it is kind of a fun bonus, and maybe it's enough to like, we don't have to do the other stuff that maybe we don't want to do, like work at Sonic,
right?
To pay the bills and that. But the idea that kind of everyone's an artist of varying skills and mediums and different things, and
100%.
Being able to channel that. My dad was kind of that same way. He wanted to get into writing. He's had this book that he's wanted to write forever, but you can't write unless you read. Like, you have to read a lot to write. And that's something that I didn't understand for the longest time. But to your point about having wrapped canvas still, I'd be interviewing artists in their homes, and, they would
you'd see them out on exhibit. They'd be wherever, they'd have their dozen pieces, come home and they've got like a freaking, the entire underside of their empty table is just tons of finished canvas art that they created that they're just sitting on.
Right.
Where does that go?
Right.
When that, like, Rocky, over in Manitou, like, he's just sitting on all that stuff. He wouldn't sell it for the longest time. We create art because that's what we do.
For sure. Art is definitely, what are those little ecosystems? There's the little jars where there's plants and they just survive on their own.
Yeah, they're just calibrated enough that they can survive.
They just survive on their own. And so from that, they don't need anything else, right? And so that is a thriving version of an artist. To where, what I mean thriving is where someone just makes their own little ecosystem, their own art. But from that, you don't realize that you can exist outside of this bubble. And so you're like, well, this is just how it works in my bubble. And so I don't know if I go outside this, that I'm going to be able to survive outside this bubble.
Yeah.
And so people just stay within their own ecosystem, and that's okay if that's what you so choose. But then also, one of the more gross feelings of an artist, if you will, is essentially becoming this inadvertent car salesman on why you think someone should buy your art.
Right.
When you're just like, hey, this is just my ecosystem and I like the way it is. But then there's people that are really, really good at selling their art, but I'm not a salesman, even though that's part of the job.
Yeah.
And so I never go out of my way when I try to sell art. I never go out of my way saying, this is why you should buy this. This is the drapes that this would match with for this season. I tell them the story. So I tell them about my ecosystem. I tell them the story about behind the painting. And I say, this is what it means to me. This is what my ecosystem created. And then if it relates to your ecosystem, if it relates to you, that's why people buy my art, because they're like, oh, that really resonated with me. But I never tell stories outside of my ecosystem. I always tell stories. This happened to me, and this is why I made this painting. This is how the painting made me feel, and this is why I made the painting. And people resonate from that. I know a lot of artists that make flash and pan art. Nothing wrong with that. Super, it's actually super lucrative. I know some people that would make art of Taylor Swift in a Chiefs jersey.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
No one is going to ask for Taylor Swift in a Chiefs jersey 5 years from now. But when Taylor Swift was wearing a Chiefs jersey, it was all the rage.
Right.
So that is you catering to other people's ecosystems. That's perfectly fine. I'm not going to hate on that. But these same people, these same friends of mine are also getting extremely burnt out because they're not making art for themselves. It's almost like they don't know how. They're going to TikTok and they're going to the For You page and seeing what's popular.
Yeah.
They have.
Can I copy that?
Can I copy that?
Yeah.
Legit. What's popular right now?
Yeah.
And then as soon as you're done making something, it's not popular anymore.
I've seen a number of TikTok, because everything happens first on TikTok and it migrates over to Facebook, Instagram, stuff like, because you can just copy paste and that. But there are some creators where it's like they found the thing that's getting them the hits, the algorithmic attention. They can't do anything different because then they're not getting those hits and building their numbers and becoming a big star.
Right.
So then they are just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And that sucks. I mean, maybe they can tolerate that to some extent, but inevitably you get the my final video or whatever post on social media where it's like they can't handle that because they're working within someone else's much larger ecosystem, poking and prodding, trying to figure it out. I mean, and beyond that, even the YouTube thing, because that's my background now, is I've got a YouTube channel. It's got 22,000 subscribers.
No big deal. No big deal. King of the castle. King of the castle.
But a lot of that was like, I didn't know that video is going to work out.
Right.
Otherwise, I would have done it like years earlier and done that. And then I follow up with something similar, like maybe, they're going to, and then it doesn't work out. It's like, the fuck are you doing? So then when you have a Mr. Beast who climbs on top of it all, and he's doing it for the money, and all things being equal, like, okay, you're doing it for the money. It's distorting the fabric of what people want because he is gaming the algorithm in such a way that, not to make too much of a tangent here, but you like, now you have all of these artists now, especially young ones who maybe not have had as much study in the fundamentals of that. They are chasing ghosts, essentially. They're chasing the Mr. Beast. They're trying to copy him because it's like, that's how the money is made. And we are in a society where you can only have a comfortable living if you make a lot of money.
Right. Stuff like that it's like an NFT. So it's stuff that is good.
Non-fungible token for the people.
Correct. It's good in intent. But,
is it?
You know what? NFTs at its core, so like without the Mr. Beast. Okay, so for you, the YouTube was your NFT. So originally, this was supposed to be something beautiful for artists. A lot of people don't understand. They only know the after effect, the perversion of the NFT, because an NFT essentially in its core, you create a piece of art as an artist and then you sell this. And then the next person that sells that, the artist, each time that is sold, gets a little bit of change from that. The idea for the artist was supposed to be for the artist. And then it was easily manipulated and perverted to the point to where the Justin Biebers are buying these monkey whatever, and then they are apes. Buying their own artwork and then saying this artwork that I bought for $100,000 is now worth $2.5 million because they bought it themselves, and now they're selling it for $5 million, and that completely knocks us out of the game. Yeah. And that's what happens with like the Mr. Beasts and stuff like that. And just like we're talking about people trying to regurgitate artwork, that's almost like they're trying to be a living, breathing AI. You're trying to regurgitate what you see, but you're not a well-oiled, plugged-in machine. You can't generate this stuff or whatever. And so it makes it really complicated for a lot of artists when it's just so oversaturated with this copy-paste kind of thing. And then you get the people like the Mr. Beast who have the shoe-ins. And then all of a sudden we're muffled. We're muffled out. And so, but I mean, in that sense though, you still have to try. I think it's really important to try, because even though it feels like, who am I compared to Mr. Beast? I'm an atom. But at the same token, it takes a snowflake to create an avalanche. Yeah. And so if you don't, then the next person won't, and then it's never going to happen.
Because that becomes the, I could have done that, but you didn't.
Right. Well, I was going to, but then Mr. Beast.
Yeah. Or any other, I will say that one of my sins is envy. Right. And that is they did it 6 months after me. And for some reason, they're the ones who get popular and now make $10,000 a month on Patreon, and I don't.
Right.
And it's like, what could I... And there's nothing in my control. Like, all I can do is make the best work I can.
100%.
But you get into the, if I could have done it, I would have done it, or I did and it didn't. So it's kind of like, you have to take your... And that's only if you're even looking at that. We talk about the internet at large, but one thing that you're a prime example of is being able to connect locally. That's where you're getting your connectivity, your sales and stuff like that, is meeting the people face to face, going out to wherever, road tripping, whatever you got to do, flying out, doing what you got to do, but meeting the people. And that's very different than, I'm just going to do my art reveal where I show you my behind the scenes of me making it, and then there's a reveal at the end. Go buy Dalo,
100%. I know artists that don't even go to some of their own First Friday events.
That's a lot of them.
Dude,
that is so. Yeah.
Respectfully, you're freaking weird for that, bro. I just had an event last first Friday, not this, the first Friday before last, where there was like 9 artists for this big event, and it was over by the Broadmoor. I was the only artist that showed up. And I think that's ludicrous. I literally asked them, I was like, do you want me to go? And they're like, no, please stay. I encourage artists to be here.
with their work.
With their work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's just so odd to me because you are a direct representation of your work.
Yeah.
And so if you're not there, you're at the inception of someone looking at your art, it's kind of a missing piece to the puzzle. Yes, people will connect to it visually if you don't, but I'm all about the senses. And so I think, people say that business cards are like a dead thing because it's all digital now. No, I literally want to be in your pocket.
Yeah.
I want you to wash my business card and make it a little round paper ball. And then when you take me out of the dryer, you say, oh crap, that dude's business card.
Yeah.
You're going to remember me for multiple senses. Like, if I will literally put on certain colognes and stuff like that when I do art.
Maybe a little too much cologne
little wheezy. Yeah. What was I saying earlier? Essence of pew. But like I want to hit as many senses as possible. If I have an art thing, I want to have beverages that this is from the local, like I want you to think about what you're tasting, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're smelling, etc.
Yeah.
I want you to carry me with you. And a large part of that is the why. A large part of my art is the why. The why that I didn't get in the military, that is the why that you're going to get within my art. You're going to understand your mission. Yes, the mission is, this is pretty and I like it. But you're going to understand why you like it. And, that's honestly, I feel like that's kind of a me thing. I don't feel like it should necessarily be a me thing because I feel like so many artists have so many beautiful stories to tell about their artwork. But for me, my art is so much more than visual because it's there's so much thought-provoking. There's so much intent. And so you can take all that information and be like, I could care less. I just think it looks cool.
Yeah.
Cool, dude. But there is a in-depth reason why. There's an in-depth story. There's a reason why I named this. There's a reason why the color palette, etc. There's a why for everything. And I would like to share that with you. And a lot of artists don't do that.
Because the painting doesn't start as the painting. It starts as something
Correct.
in your head.
It probably starts me being wide-eyed at 3 a.m, grabbing my phone, and then trying to look up, like, what does philia mean? And then, will people connect philia with pedophilia? No, if it's,
Also, what was the 7th grossest movie in 1997?
Correct.
Just real quick.
It's just exactly. Can horses run backwards? There's so many questions. There's so many don't do that because that might be. And that goes also to like the Mr. Beast thing is like when you have these, a lot of people stop their thought process because, that's been done before. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Or it's either copy and paste or, that's been done before. I can't do that. So it's literally the same coin. People will either go because that's popular or they stop because, that's popular. It's been done before. So every original idea is not original until you make it original. And what I mean by that, there's so many love songs that have been made. And there's going to be so many love songs tomorrow that will be made. And they're all going to be referenced from those love songs tomorrow. So you can take that, don't copy and paste that love song.
Right.
There's
nothing new under the sun.
There's nothing new under the sun. But at the same token, you are creating new based off of those references. It doesn't mean that it's not new,
Yeah.
I just mean, and and not to go on the tangent once again of NFTs. So I had this conversation that art event that I was telling you about recently. Someone was telling me about AI, and there was an artist there that actively used AI, and they asked my honest opinion. And I was like, I can either give you the flattering answer to where we stop talking about this, or I can give you my honest answer on it.
Yeah.
And essentially, I said, well, AI is like karaoke. If you go into karaoke and you kill this song, it's not your freaking song.
Yeah. It's
the tempo can be slightly different. Your voice can change it. Yeah. It's not your freaking song just because you did it well. And the person's argument was, well, it's original because I did it well. And I'm like, that's not your song, bro.
Yeah.
Like yes, you might have matched multiple different karaoke songs and you killed it. It sounds great.
Where I see, because I've seen high-end, like, experienced artists dabble in AI as as a tool. If you really wanted to dial it in, I remember Healing Brush for Photoshop. That would be considered AI today if you went by the same metrics of a machine is doing a process to accomplish a goal. It's like, I need to clone stamp something. I need to take it over. Right. If you reduce it down far, just the information is now of such a higher resolution that now you can just copy entire other works. And you can, and I've seen the pieces where they use it to generate parts like textures or something like that, where they're able to create situations. I guess my point is that a lot of the AI art that I see these days is not from those people who are using it as a tool. It is from people who would be using Canva or Microsoft Word to make their signage. And it's not even in their thought process to want to use a real artist or hire someone, because that's automatically much more expensive. And they don't need to worry about copyright or anything of this stupid block party they're going to have.
Right.
You know, that's where I see a lot of the AI art.
Again, it's like going to the music. So would it be AI? Like, would it be humor me? Because this clearly isn't AI.
Sure.
The music that the million love songs that were made yesterday, is it copying? Is it like AI to make a new love song that reference those? No, because you're not physically taking and manipulating the waves, the sound, etc., to fit. You're creating something new referenced off of that. And so the reason why I say that is because I don't think what you just said is that AI, quote unquote, that cheating, if you will, the argument of that, due to if you use a digital form of manipulation, let's go, for instance, a human. I'm all for enhancements if that's what you want, if that makes you happy and it doesn't mess with anyone else. So if you want a BBL, girl, you go to freaking Barbados and you get that BBL. If you want to fix your hairline, brother, I freaking support you. Go to Turkey, and get that new hairline, or Korea, etc., etc. But if you take someone else's booty, what the frick? You just created Frankenstein. That is not your butt, sir. And or ma'am, that's someone else's creation. So I don't mind enhancing something. You're referencing something. I don't care what tools you use to get there. But at the same time, if you take something from someone else and then manipulate that's different. There's a huge difference between a reference and that. There's even some people, I know multiple artists that will go to AI generator or an AI generator to because they feel like they can't make anything original. So they look for an original, quote unquote, original idea, and then they paint that. So even that is more acceptable to me than you printing off that image and saying, look what I created, because now you're putting paint to canvas. And so, it's tricky.
You're making it.
It's tricky. You definitely took from the radio and then you definitely pulled an Elvis.
Yeah.
You definitely said, I created something original, even though you took something. But at the same time, that's still, I still would count that as your freaking creation because you put it on canvas.
Yeah.
So it's that referencing is a little bit more.
But there's a lot of digital. Like digital makes that transit. You know, it's when you're
Right.
like editing digital audio versus
Right.
you're having to you're at your deck and you've got your 2 vinyls playing or something like that, and you're interpolating
Right.
that in real time.
Exactly.
You know, you can literally copy and paste.
Mm-hmm.
Because my background is like Photoshop or something like
Right.
that.
And I think that's an amazing tool. And as an artist, I literally use like when I make my own prints and stuff,
Yeah.
I doll up my own artwork as well. And I
Because
wouldn't.
you got to look in different formats and stuff like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's go. So you going around and physically, like, that's marketing funnel 101. That is, you're creating all these impressions so that a percentage of those take an action, so that a percentage of those make a purchase,
Right.
or something like that. So when you have the artists that are more secluded or introverted or homebodies or something like that, or they're not on social media and they're not promoting themselves, like, I'm going on a road trip, go and see what, you know, come be with me when I'm in Vancouver at this thing that is very cool. You know, you're creating just those impressions by being out there.
Right.
And that seems like that's kind of the big step of, that's how I make my art, unless I charge $5,000 for each piece or something like that to
For
some
sure.
patron.
So, first of all, I freaking hate social media. With every fiber of my being.
Zuckerberg is really angry with you.
Oh
right
my
now.
glob. I hate it so much, bro. Shut the front cabinet. I hate it. It's just so much energy that because here's the thing is it is I don't want to call it a necessary evil.
I was about to call it a necessary evil.
But it's like, it's a part of the game.
Yeah, it is.
So that's
They
like
could be
saying
both
I
things.
really love to play football, but I can't stand getting hit. Well, sorry to disappoint you there, stupid. But so with that
You thought
being
it was just
said,
endorsement deals and wearing Nikes and
like
stuff?
I thought I wouldn't get hit as the kicker.
Yeah.
But with that being said, it's a part of it. And what I don't like about it is, so what makes it a thought process that gets a lot of attention from people, and even I struggle with the use of this, is if you tell people or you present to people that you are important, people think you are important.
Yeah.
And so you literally have to trick people into thinking you're freaking important. And sounds
deceptive a little.
That sounds like I'm like simplifying it more than it is. But like the reason why I say that, and the reason why I say trick people per se, is I don't feel like I'm important. I feel like I'm you. I feel like you and I are the same.
Yeah.
And so in saying that, I don't feel like, I don't put my artwork or myself on a totem pole to where I'm like, if you would like to get like me.
Yeah,
So
I've got a course for
the
you.
expertise that I have that others don't, I view that as like, hey, I'll help you if you want. We're the same. You just have different skill sets than I am.
Yeah.
And so social media a lot of the time is, look what I created. This is special, cool. But also, so say for instance, when I came in here, I said, can I take pictures?
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because I'm going to post that and I'm going to say, thank you. I was on this, I was invited on this podcast. Thank you so much for having me. The icky thing about that is when I post that, inadvertently, I know people are going to go, you were on a podcast? It's the horrible term clout. Mm-hmm. I could care less about clout, but that's a part of the game.
Are you getting clout by being here?
Oh, 100%. Just
That's
being
dope.
your friend. Why do you think we're friends, bro? I'm using you. I'm toxic. I'm so toxic.
Get +1. What was that? God, what was that? There was a social media rating service where it's like the better you were at posting or something, like you got more points, which could then be converted into rewards and stuff.
It's so gross.
But it's dead. But no,
first of all,
that's networking.
That is networking. That is networking. But first of all, let me clarify that I'm genuinely happy to be here. And if we were in a basement without any cameras or microphones, we could have the same conversation.
Dope.
And I would
Yeah,
be having
we
anxiety.
have.
You're legitimately my friend.
Yeah.
And so, but I feel like I may be villainizing it a little bit more than the average bear. I just could care less what people think about me. I don't. I want people to know that, hopefully to know, or give me the opportunity to prove that I'm a good person, or at least I tried to be. But anything other than that has to do with any form of status, because again, when people start to think that you're important or you're creating waves, they kind of put this this status on you. I've had I was in the middle of the gym. This is about a month and a half ago, and someone goes, I thought I was being pranked. Someone goes, "Oh my God, it's him." And I'm like, I look behind me and I'm like, who is he? Who is the person we're looking at? And they literally, it's the worst case scenario. There's like 100 people in my gym at this time, and it's right in the middle. And they go, "It's that one artist that looks like Aquaman." And I was like, damn it. Ah, crap. And they literally, it's this woman and her husband, and she asks her husband, she puts her hand around my waist and asks her husband to take a picture of me with me in the middle of the gym. And I'm like, oh no.
No, this is who you are now.
And so, right. And so,
Daniel Aquaman,
I was like,
man,
crap.
Logan, yeah.
And so, yeah. And so it's just one of those things where,
painting?
No, it will not be a future painting. That's, if I make it, it'll end up in Sonic on fire.
All right.
But it's one of those things where I have the pros and cons about that. The cons is I think I might have to switch gyms. The pros with that is I've successfully tricked someone into thinking I'm important. Now, like, oh my God, your art is so beautiful and blah, blah, blah. And so that's the yucky part that I could care less about.
Yeah.
Like, it was really, this woman started crying at my gym. And she didn't even know my name, which is insulting. Which is, you're that one artist guy that looks like Aquaman. Oh my God. And I'm just like, well, first of all, thank you if you recognize me for my artwork. Like, yeah. I would like, that is my intent.
Yeah.
But did you have to add the freaking king of the Atlantis here? That's just rude. But, and the whole husband taking the picture, that's just cuck energy. That's a whole nother conversation. We won't talk about that. But anyway,
yeah.
So, but no, that's what I mean. That's the part that feels gross to me, because I just genuinely were all on the same playing field in my head. And so when I like, even in our community, where sometimes it feels like certain groups of artists kind of have totem poles to where it's like we might view ourselves slightly elevated above this group or that group.
Yeah.
I always mentally create this bowling alley and knock people down a peg just mentally.
Yeah.
Like, no, dude, we're all the same.
So altruistically, like, that's the way we should be. We should all be viewing ourselves as like friends we want to help out and stuff like that. Do you think part of that even was instilled by the military too? Of like, it's not even in everyone sucks. It is that we're all the same. We're all in this together. This is a team effort, like society. We are in a society kind of thinking. Is that
no? Honestly, my career field was do this or else. It was very dog eat dog. Mm-hmm. And so as far as like where that camaraderie would have been built is maybe being in the same suck as someone else. And so let me help you, brother, because we're dealing with the same suck at the same time. But also it's very much so, it's like, yes, it's all about brotherhood and stuff like that. The brotherhood comes from dealing with the same kind of suck, with being around the same people.
Yeah.
And so, but in that same sentence, the people that are also supposed to be your quote unquote brothers are probably higher ranked than you, and they're going to bite your head off as soon as they can because you didn't do what you were supposed to. Yeah. So yes and no, I guess.
Okay. Yeah,
yes and
sense.
no. Yeah. But also I feel like I'm a bad person to ask because career field specific. There's some people that are in the Air Force that are like, I have lifelong friends that you, I mean, as do I.
Yeah.
But, you know, that typical American success story, and then there's an eagle that flies by and the American flag is waving in the background.
Yeah, and then their Facebook avatar is the eagle. With
exactly,
the American flag.
exactly.
It's like they are lost now. They're gone.
For sure. They're an Animorphs book where they're slowly turning into an eagle. And right.
There's a big nugget I want to nibble on before we leave for the day, and that is the this idea that you've already kind of touched on, is building the artistic community here. This is something you've talked about. Let's bring the art beyond the avenue of creative conduit, or I keep forgetting which word that last. It's a corridor. I think it's conduit, but it's this idea that we've been talking all episode of, we are all creatives. We do it in different ways. Mm-hmm. We have different skill sets. We're all in this together. Like, hey, if you don't know how to paint, let's get you some canvas and paint and just screw around for a while.
For sure.
But it feels like that, in reference to what you're talking about, it seems like there are groups that are ivory tower elites, or they have their own totems or something like that. And they're maybe doing this for, say, grant money or something like that. You know, this idea of we should have a more robust artistic community for a community our size. But obviously the talent is already here. It's just not being manifested. It's not being grown in a way that it seems like it. Like, all you have to do is just turn, your red filter onto green, and it's already there.
Right.
And I know you've had some passionate thoughts about, like, we need to have galleries out on Academy. Mm-hmm. We need to have art out on Powers, and not just as a mission statement or we got a grant to do it, but like, genuinely, we need to lighten up our neighborhoods.
I had been talked to by a myriad of gallery owners here in the town who really didn't appreciate what I had to say. And I thought that was very interesting, because you're the ones I'm talking about. And there's a difference between, so there's people that want to be the change, but there's some people that don't understand when they're trying to make a change and you're monopolizing the change. And so change doesn't have to come from you. And first of all, there's not a gallery in this town that I won't send someone to, as far that's a lie. But that's a lie. You know what you did. But as far as just like, I'm all for the arts. I'm all for artists succeeding. I'm all for galleries succeeding. I understand that if you have a gallery, that's also a business. You have to succeed and you have to do your due diligence, etc. But also, if you're like, we're going to change Colorado Springs, and you open up right next door pretty much to another gallery,
on
whatever,
Tejon
somewhere, then
nothing against the galleries on Tejon,
dude, like, exactly. And there's so many, and but and that's part of the art walk, and maybe that is your version of change, is like you're just expanding the art community. So don't let me so there's freaking, I'll name drop, there's Lookup Gallery, there's RX, there's True North, etc., etc. I love all of you, and don't get it twisted. I don't want there to be any undertones or whatever. If you have issues, or if I have issues, let's freaking talk, which I don't have issues. But if you have issues with what I'm saying, please feel free. You know where to find me. Yeah, I have no issue. Tiki-talkie, or any of these people I talk to have my freaking cell phone number. Yeah. But with that being said, all of these, yes, it's really cool to have them within walking distance. If you freaking live within freaking walking distance,
right,
that's really cool. And so, but I live on the east side of town. So anytime that I need to do anything, that's a freaking 30-minute drive for me.
Right.
And I've missed a lot of openings and a lot of stuff that just due to the proximity, it wasn't within my proximity. And so I know that exists elsewhere as well. And so I know that would open up more target audiences, more areas that would just be more inclusive within the city if we expounded. And I'm not saying it's the west side of town is done, let's make the north the new art hub. No, you all are super important, and you guys started the roots of that. And so let's expound. Let's make those roots connect to yours. Let's connect the north, east, south, west to that. Let's just make this artistic train station to where we can all be routed together. For sure.
Or there's routes where you can actually go. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
there's 2 creative districts, Colorado creative districts.
Yeah.
You have Manitou, you have downtown. They say Colorado Springs, but it's downtown Colorado Springs.
Right.
Like, if you've ever lived in this town, you know that as soon as you go 5 minutes east, north, or west, or south, I should say, it's like, what are they doing downtown, those weirdos?
Right, right.
That was me growing up, honestly.
Right.
It was, we didn't ever go downtown except to go to Giuseppe's.
Exactly.
Yeah. we came in on the interstate, you get off at Bijou, you make that right turn, you go to Giuseppe's, you leave the way you came in, and you don't do anything else.
Right.
And I hate the idea of projecting, right? Of like, this was what my childhood was like, is downtown is this entirely, it might as well be Denver. Because I grew up in Village 7.
Right.
So... I love that Nob Hill is growing, but we need more Nob Hills.
Right.
Nob Hill needs to grow.
And by me saying this isn't me saying that you've had enough. Whomever, whether you are, so Auric does amazingly. True North is so sick.
Auric is always packed. There's always
packed.
Amazing
the
art
Look
in
Up
there.
Gallery. Freaking Clay, I love you. You guys are amazing. This isn't me saying I wish a stunt in your growth. If anything, I wish, I would love for you to be expounded elsewhere. Right. So this isn't like you've had your turn. Other people have their turn.
It's not either or. Like, you need to fail so that others can succeed.
I want them to.
How do we cast a light out further so we're not focusing on what's making us bread today? Because there are entities and people who thrive on. I need stories out that highlight that I'm doing successful work here, and it doesn't really matter where it's not happening because it's not happening. Wink, wink.
Right.
That kind of thing. Right. We're happy that it's happening out there.
Right.
We won't talk about it until there's something to actually talk about.
Correct.
But it would be for the benefit of everyone if we were able to shine out the light. And it's not just like the existing power, the art industrial complex that's here. It's built environment. It's walkability. I can't walk to a art gallery anywhere where I'm at. There's none there.
Right.
There's a food pantry.
Yeah.
There's 2 grocery stores. No art.
And I've thought, so one of the things I try to live by is don't create a problem without a solution. So what's that solution? Yeah. So one of the things that, because I've never had a brick and mortar myself, and so a lot easier said than done. But one thing that I'm like, okay, what is what is attainable? So even something, there's a myriad of restaurants throughout. I mean, you go in the Springs and we're fantastic about restaurants allowing artists inside. Okay. Yeah. So then maybe that is something that we can initiate, trying to get more restaurants in town for something like that. Or, okay, here's something else. Well, there's a lot of high schools that rent out their gymnasiums for church services or something.
Yeah.
So maybe once a month, we can try to get some form of high school to where, hey, can we have your talented students be a part of an art gallery for First Friday, or create this art gallery in here for First Friday, but also within your local area. So not only are you displaying and getting the courage and having them learn how to properly display their own art and getting that confidence, but also they're seeing how professionals do it, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Just what's the potential solution to the problem? And that's one thing I'm currently combating right now.
Yeah, and it's like more murals and stuff like that.
Exactly.
When the one on Revolution Jewelry, that beautiful one of Pikes Peak, and it's made out of like sapphires and minerals and stuff like that. And she's like, I was just tired of all the corporate bullshit. You know, the templated copy paste browns and beiges that are out here, and it's like, we should kind of all want that, to create that sense of place, because you always know that jewelry store is there, that jewelry marketplace is there, because they've got that freaking badass mural on the side, Michelle Winchell with the Downtown Ventures. She's like, it's about creating a sense of place.
Right.
And when you're walkable, like every first Friday, we're usually downtown, walking the galleries and that, but you can walk to them.
Correct.
You know, I've definitely walked from here to where I live a couple times. It's not as walkable.
Correct.
And I'm one of those, like, any distance is walkable people, but I'm weird in that way. There's something
100%.
wrong with my head. Yeah, in that way.
That's why we're friends.
That's exactly. But I just love the idea that we foster a community where art just goes everywhere,
right?
And we create these cores, and part of that is like maybe the city needs to get a little bit more involved.
You know, and if you're hearing this, please help me, help us. You are the snowflake that creates an avalanche. If you know a way, like, hey, they should do that, let me freaking know so that we can try to do this. And also, I read a book a long time ago, essentially how to market yourself. And one thing that how you approach yourself to a lot of businesses and companies, etc., people aren't against you, they're for themselves. It's you always have to include this is what you can do for me, so let me tell you what I can do for you. So if you go to a restaurant and ask if you can display your art there, let them know, well, this will bring in more business because now people will be interested in not only your establishment, but also this beautiful art. This also shows that you you support local business and local artists, which means that you support like just your local and et cetera, et cetera. So don't ever just go somewhere and be like, please, sir, I'd like some more.
Yeah.
People are rightfully selfish. Like selfish is the wrong word.
It's part of it. It's like if you want to survive, you have to ask for food.
Correct. So in order for you to help me, let me tell you how I can also help you. And so, because no one owes us anything, and that's one thing we have to remember. So if someone says no, that's their right. But also that's another thing. If you're applying for a grant, if you're applying for a job, if you're applying to a gallery and they tell you, no, that's not a ban. That's a not right now. So try again.
Did you go to that? I thought it was cool. They're putting on, Copper did that event at the Ent Center. This is like their second annual one where it's like the Creator Summit where it's like helping local creatives.
I wasn't able to. No, I was really sad I missed that for sure. Yeah,
we're ending the podcast. We're getting towards the end here. Were there final thoughts? Where do we find you? Where do you go to find more Daniel Logan?
Bearing
in mind that this probably won't be out for another month, so nothing.
No worries. Absolutely. So my name is Daniel Logan, and the only nickname that I've ever had is Daylo, which is
Dayglow.
Or J-Lo, from the block.
Yeah.
But that is D-A-L-O for Daniel Logan. So Daylo, and anything that you can find me on, whether that my website, my Instagram, my Facebook, my gross TikTok, which has way more motorbike content than art than I would like, is Daylo Art and Design. And that is where you can find all my updates, all my what just happenings, all my stupid content when I decide to be silly. But also thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
This was a freaking journey.
I know. That's what I wanted this show to be. It's just we can just sit here and just chat because, and I mentioned it's probably gonna be just recurrent. Dave can back me up here. It's just like at the end, it's like, I'm just really tired of those podcasts. They're like 20 minutes, and it just the person contacted the producer and said, I'm doing this event. I've got 5 things to say about it. The same 5 things I talked to everybody else about. Thank you for welcoming me on the show. So I really want to talk about values and this and that. And I don't want the canned. I wanted to have something real. And that's badly needed and long overdue, which is why the title really sang. That's Steph's idea. So,
yeah. I mean, I love it. It's just, so my daughter asked me, why do you like podcasts so much? And I was like, because I'm lonely and I don't have any friends. I'm kidding. But it's like, but I did tell her, I was like, whenever you're working or something, I'm constantly doing something. So I can't watch as much content as I would like to consume. I can't play video games like I would like. So in order to keep my brain alert. I'm a part of this conversation that I'm not a part of, which is podcasts.
Yeah, that
These
parasocial thing going on.
So that's
yeah.
thing where I'm interested in something and I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. That's this, that's that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I value podcasts so much, is because it involves you in the conversation.
Yeah.
And
Daniel,
so,
Logan, thank you so much for being on this little show that we call Binlow.
Thank you so much for having me, my friend.
Wasn't that a great conversation? Really? I mean, again, all of them are just fire. It was great to have that swing between really connecting with Daniel and then getting some really good laughs in the end. We have a lot of laughs on this program. Let's get into the credits, and then we're going to go talk about housing in the Soapbox. How's that sound? Does that sound good? Let's do it.
Badly Needed and Long Overdue is part of the Studio 809 Community Podcast Network. These interviews are recorded at Studio 809 in the Next Us, a professional cooperative environment for small businesses in downtown Colorado Springs. Be sure to check out all the other fine podcasts at studio809podcasts.com, where you can find your new favorite local podcast. This show was produced by myself and Dave Gardner, with video directed by Dave Gardner. Show music is by Injection Site Reaction. Thank you, guys. I'd like to give a thank you to Catherine Chukas and Ken Schauer, and a special thank you to Kelly Karnetsky for helping fund this second season of Binlow on Indiegogo.
All right, so let's talk about housing in Colorado Springs. And this comes from the recent Gazette, I brought notes, the Gazette Editorial Board opinion about densifying as a result of state legislation. Now, what the state wants to do is it wants to get cities like Colorado Springs that have been dragging their heels on densifying their zoning to start densifying their zoning primarily around transit-oriented corridors. Basically, wherever the city is able to provide public service for public transportation, stuff like that. They want more people to be able to live there. It doesn't make sense to have bus lines running through low density places where people are going to primarily use cars, right? And there's a counter argument too. It's like, well, why build the bus routes to begin with? Well, it's a chicken and egg thing, but you actually need the bus routes to be able to provide a useful service to people who need it. Their complaint is Colorado Springs should be able to assert itself because it's a home rule jurisdiction. They don't have to abide by state rules and laws. They can do what they want to do. And to their point, factually, 2/3 of Colorado Springs is R1 detached single-family homes. It's home after home, tract housing for miles and miles and miles. And that has caused a lot of problems. This is something that I've highlighted in my Carmen Line opposition video. The primary nugget of the Gazette Editorial Board's opinion is that the American dream revolves around having four walls, a flying bug, a lawn, a driveway, like the things we associate with endless lines of suburbia. And to that end, they employ a lot of mythology. I mean, that's what the Gazette Editorial Board does. Honestly, they don't have a lot of facts in this regard. They have a lot of feelings, and a lot of them are based on very old ways of viewing the world and new urbanism and America and community and how these all come together, because they opine on the opinion on the behalf of people who are privileged and already have this stuff, not the people who are getting into it. And that's one of the big responses that my pal Cully Radvius of beautiful Colorado Springs mentions in his retort, is that the American dream is already unattainable. Separated from that housing piece is the fact that people can't afford that stuff. You can't get jobs to be able to afford that stuff. So the idea that you would lock off that kind of prosperity to those who live in single-family homes or detached single-family homes is unrealistic in 2025. And honestly, not everyone wants to live in a detached single-family home with a lawn they have to maintain that's not walkable, where you have to drive to anywhere you want to do, or anywhere you want to go, or anything you need to accomplish. Given the option, people will choose other things that are more convenient for them. And so the Gazette employs some very interesting mythologies here. So one of them being that supply doesn't lower rents. Of course it does. We've seen the data over and over again. Whenever you build lots of units, and the mayor says we're about 28,000 units short of what we need as a city, once you build those units, rents come down. We saw this in Austin. We see this in San Francisco. We see this in Denver. San Francisco in particular has a problem. It's actually the opposite problem, where they're not building enough units and rents are skyrocketing. Make more units, rents go down. It's supply and demand. It's very simple. The data supports it. The Gazette also employs the non-factual nugget that if, say, your neighbor tore down their house and built a 2-plex or a 4-plex, that would affect negatively your property values. And research has shown that that is not true either. When more people live in a neighborhood, the neighborhood actually adjusts, the market adjusts to provide more commodities, more services, more places for the people in the neighborhood to make it more walkable, to make it more useful. And so, in fact, in neighborhoods that densify, property values tend to actually go up. And that brings on the conversation, of course, about gentrification, which is a whole other matter. But when you're allowing more people to move in instead of just making McMansions and stuff like that, you offset that gentrification. Another aspect of the NIMBYism that the Gazette advocates for is a sense of territorialism. That because you got here earlier, you deserve an unchanging city. You deserve to have a city where nothing changes, your neighborhood stays exactly the same, your neighbors don't change. None of that. You don't have to bend in any way to advocate for or acknowledge or even help people who are less fortunate and so many other classes. And so a lot of NIMBYs will invoke well, I'm a second generation Colorado Springs resident, or I've lived here for 90 years or whatever, to justify them wanting to pull the ladder up behind them. They don't want apartments because they don't want new people living here. And unfortunately, in a city that is built on transplants, everyone's a transplant. It's just a matter of when you got here. The reality is you want a city that's growing. You want a city that is diversifying and becoming more creative. You want a city that's incorporating more and different views. You want a city that doesn't rely on one or two industries, because what happens when those industries disappear? And so it is that housing policy and housing itself and the population that comes has to follow, because you can't just build a wall around the city and tell people not to live here. You have to address the people that are already here or are moving here. And that's why so many of those people are vehemently opposed to any measure that also helps the unhoused or those who don't live in a home. If you have a home, you're good. If you can afford a home, you're good. If you can't, get the hell out. And that is a very selfish and counterproductive way to view how a city exists and how it grows and how it lives. These people are afraid of change. The other big point that Cully brings up that I really liked in here was the fact that zoning is not directly correlated with building. So 68% or so of Colorado Springs is zoned for R1. That means you can only build R1 single family detached housing. You can only build that. It is illegal to build anything else. But just changing the zoning doesn't mean that there's going to be skyscrapers that pop up right next to you. That's not how that works. In reality, this is really about providing choice. If you want to live in a single family home, you should be able to. But you should also be able to do a lot of other stuff. You should be able to live in an apartment if you want, which the Gazette calls an entry-level living space, essentially for the poors. Because that's what they think of. In reality, a good, high-quality apartment with, decent amenities and adequate soundproofing and stuff like that, people will want that. I mean, that's why people live downtown. And the fact that they neglect thinking about downtown at all sort of defies their logic, of course. If you have a bunch of apartment units in a dense space where there are amenities like restaurants and places to go and things to do and parks and bike trails and a network of places to walk around in, walkable corridors, people want to live there. That's worth more. And that goes into the piece about people on both sides of the aisle will like to complain that, they're only building luxury units whenever they're doing this stuff. And we do need a spread of affordable homes and mid-priced homes and luxury homes. But the thing is, is a phenomenon called vacancy chains. And there's a video by About Here that really explains it. He's a Vancouver-based YouTuber. But it's basically, you build a whole bunch of luxury homes. Yes, the average person isn't able to afford that, right? I can't afford that. I can't afford to live downtown or West Side or whatever. I can't even get into my own home right now. Lots of people in my generation can't. But the thing is, when you build those luxury apartments, when you build those luxury residences, people move up from the places that already exist, freeing those that are further down the chain. And that makes everything more affordable on top of the market conditions that allow that through simple supply and demand. There's also the fun parts about when you densify neighborhoods, they become more efficient and they become cheaper to maintain. It's much easier to maintain a city block when there's 500 people on it than spreading those 500 people across 20 blocks. And that seems to elude the Gazette Editorial Board as well. You need a lot less infrastructure. You need to spend a lot less on infrastructure when there's less stuff to maintain. You know what the most expensive thing you can do in a city is to spread it out wafer thin, molecule layer thin across an area as big as ours. The conversation about housing rhymes with that of car dependency. Freedom is not owning a car. Freedom is the ability to not own a car. Freedom is not living in a single family detached home with a lawn and all that. Freedom is the ability to not live in one and have it be a choice. It should be a choice to be able to live in an apartment, to live in a condo, to live in a 2-plex, a 4-plex, an 8-plex versus here's more single family detached housing. Now, one thing that we do get to talk about later in the series, I get to talk with John Jarrell, and he brings up public housing, which is its own ball of yarn. Now, I'm not going to spoil it in here, but it is an incredible idea to not have the city compete with developers to build housing, but to work alongside to provide them, and not crappy public housing, but maintained high quality public housing that people want to live in, and feather it through the entirety of the city and not clump it up like the American federal government did way back in the decades ago, that made it not viable. Don't ghettoize it. Don't refuse to maintain it. But that's a conversation for then. So anyway, I don't really hold a lot of faith in the Gazette Editorial Board anyway. Pretty much everything they post is the most cringe thing, out of touch thing ever. You kind of imagine that they've got their cigar in a dark marble room and those old fashioned Art Deco lamps. It sounds cool, but it's they're really stuck in the 30s as far as their ideologies go. They're really, it's freaking absurd. But I will say the opposite of what the opinion board will recommend, and that is love your family, love your friends, love your city, and free Palestine. Let's get out of here.